Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend Sheila Seppi. Hi, Sheila.
Hey, Kathy, how are you?
Great, great. Boy, you've come a long way, baby. I mean, my goodness. I was at Sheila's first presentation of being a walk-in at the Jackie Arnold hosted her at an event in Boulder, Colorado. I videotaped it even. It's somewhere. And my goodness, back then it was really new for you and you really were integrating still. And you've just done an incredible job of bringing in that energy. Thank you so much what you're doing.
Well, thank you. It's been a ride, that's for sure.
So what we want everyone to understand is Sheila's an author. This is her second book, but her first book was totally about walk-ins where she discovered more things about herself being a walk-in. So Sheila, why don't we start with that, if you wouldn't mind telling everyone your story again. Sorry,
Sure.
but that way so that they can really take this journey with you.
Sure. So in 1999, I was a very, very sick person. And on September the 23rd, I instantaneously was healed. Now I'm going to give you a little backstory about that. So I was a very sick person. I had been diagnosed with bone cancer, brain tumors, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I used to walk with a cane. I had the beginning stages of rheumatoid arthritis, and the list goes on and on. Fortunately, the bone cancer, they went in to do the surgery, and miraculously, there was nothing there. There were all kinds of very weird things that were happening to me. Now I know it was all lining up for the soul exchange to take place. And so I went to bed a very, very sick person. And what seemed to me like 7 o'clock the next morning, it was as if someone reached down, grabbed me by the hair of the head, pulled me bolt right up in bed, and it was like lightning ran through my body. And then I was in white space. Now, a lot of people say that's a near death experience, and it very well could have been. I don't know what it was because very quickly, from my memory, I know I was there long enough to feel out of pain this incredible sense of unconditional love that was just pulsing through my entire being. There was joy, and it was the most peaceful place that I had ever been. And it was completely white space. And the next thing that I knew, my peripheral vision was coming in, and then my frontal vision. And as I sat there looking around the room, everything looked the same, but everything somehow felt different. And I didn't know exactly what that difference was. But as I got out of bed and my feet went on the floor, it was as if I'd never felt carpet before. And then as I walked by the mirror, I just stopped and stared because it was like I was looking at myself out of someone else's eyes. And I'll never remember that. Never forget that. And I'll never forget the feeling of coming to walk in because it was so visceral. And it's as if it just happened yesterday. Now, as I was looking at myself, all of a sudden, past life memories started flooding me. I had all this information about universal truths, which I had never studied quantum science. I had no idea what these principles were that was running around in my head. I had absolutely no idea what was happening. And then now that I do understand, I've put a lot of those concepts in the book Cosmic Convergence, which is my second book. But at that time, I had no idea what it was. The next thing that happened is I started remembering healing modalities that I had never studied and ways to work within the body's holographic field, which I had no clue what it was that I was looking at. So now I've incorporated all of that into my life and talked about a lot of it in the book, just without the story. But since that time, everything has really shifted and changed. The first thing, within the first 3 months, I got a divorce. Within the next 3 months, I found my first spiritual teacher. And then after that, it was just like I was just on the walk-in train, if you will. And I really found how to integrate in within myself through the shamanic practices that I was learning from my spiritual teacher. And it was there that I actually met my spirit guides, and they began to talk to me, and they actually became my teachers about being a walk-in. So I could ask them questions and they would provide the answers. And one of the first things was, I wanted to make sure I wasn't a body snatcher, because I still didn't understand exactly what a walk-in was. And it was there that they began to explain to me about pre-birth plans, and that this was pre-arranged, even though in our time it was instantaneously done, because when the soul of this body cried out to be released, it was decided by my collective that I would be the aspect to come in. And even though here it would seem like it was an instant, when you're in nonlinear time, you have, adequate time and space to be able to do everything that you need to do. And so with this pre-birth plan, I came in to be a way shower. I came in to clear up whatever cellular memory was left within the cells that I can talk about. I also came in to be able to move forward and to implement my mission. And so as my children grew, I anchored in more and more. Now, the important thing is, when I came into this very sick body, I could have easily fried the circuits, but fortunately for me, an Arcturian soul had inhabited this body. So there was already a framework within the holographic field that allowed me to be able to slip in without frying the neurology or the biology. And over time, more and more of that collective energy has come in. So now I operate predominantly as an Andromedan. However, because I'm collected or connected to my collective and we operate as one. Somebody laughed one day and said, oh, it's kind of like the Borg mind. Well, it is kind of, but it's not. But there's still individuality within the oversoul collective energy, but I have access to that at all times. And they talk with me. And I have found out that my team is, my guides actually were part of my soul collective as well. And so as I have continued to operate over time, everything that I have done, including the writing of the books, any presentations that I make, have solely been based on the fact that I am here to implement my mission of being a way shower. And so I talk a lot about the ascension process, how to get there. I have a whole segment on that in the book, talking about the importance of anchoring in before we're able to go up. Because, one of the things that I do when I work with people and their holographic grids is, a lot of times I find out that the Axis Mundi grid is disconnected. So we have to reconnect them to Earth, because if you are not grounded, it's impossible to receive all these massive light codes that are coming into the planet. They'll just kind of come in and go out. And so, as a walk-in, one of the things that I am supposed to do is also to talk about being a walk-in, so it helps other people to walk up. So if I'm working with someone and I'm speaking light language to them, all of a sudden they may wake up, or they may instantaneously also start speaking light language. It's just, it just depends on what the individual needs. And so, that's kind of my story and how it unraveled. And, now having the Conscious Awakening Network also is an extension of my mission to be a way shower, because, at first I thought it was just me. I was like, I mean, I didn't even know what a way shower was. I had no metaphysical knowledge. I'd never read a metaphysical book. I was religious and not spiritual. So I didn't know, when I'm hearing these terms come at me, what any of that stuff meant. And so being a way shower, I took very seriously and thought, man, I have to be the ones to show the way. And then what happened was my collective told me one day, they said, you know, people cannot drop into the essence of who they are at a soul level when they're in pain. So then I started learning all of these healing modalities and all of these things that I could do to help people get out of pain, whether it was physical, spiritual, emotional, or mental. And that's, you know, I opened up SpiritWay Wellness, and that's the business that I have, so that I, you know, I can work with people one-on-one. I work with them, you know, healing. When I'm in the office, I do, you know, body work as well. And so, you know, for me, life is, I mean, it's just been a whirlwind. And as my collective speaks to me, I try to follow them. The books are written. This one especially was written under the guise of my Andromedan elder mother, who is a future aspect of myself in the collective. Her name is Tiamu, and she really influenced a lot of the writing. And she also served as a spokesperson for the collective. And I found out that the name of my collective is called the Yahni. They have right now 128 individual aspects have identified themselves to me, but on a consistent basis, I work with 4 of those aspects almost, you know, every day of my life.
So I don't want to stop you, but that's the most incredible 11 minutes I've ever heard. Seriously, you got this down. Well, this is what I want you to understand, everyone that's listening to this, is that all of this, every word that Sheila said, if you get to listen to this again and again, is an opportunity for you. I'm getting chills, for you to experience who you really are as well. Because almost everyone on this planet stood in line to get these bodies, to be here right now. And many of us may not remember or have as great a connection as Sheila does with her team, but everyone has a group of angels. Everyone has a group that's helping them. And this is the perfect time for, with all the light codes coming into the earth, for us to reconnect and use that energy for the positive change that we want to see in the world, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Well, Sheila, that was amazing. Okay, I want to go back to a few things because you did that so beautifully. It went. Okay, so when do you connect? Do you do a regular meditation and that's when you connect, or do you wake up in the morning with information, or is it a constant when you connect with your team?
Well, I am them and they are me. And so we operate as one, and
Okay.
we use the vehicle as a body. You know, I used to always, everything was we, and people were getting a little freaked out by that. And they, you know, so they've said, so sometimes you have to say I, you know, to differentiate the individuality that's going on here. And so, you know, it's really funny because, you know, my mind is, it's like totally blank space. I don't hear any other thoughts.
Oh,
I don't have any voices. You know, a lot of people talk to me. It's like, oh my gosh, if I could turn off the chatter. And I'm like, the only chatter I ever hear is from my collective when they're saying, no, do this. Well, now then we got to do this and we're going to change this. And you know, when they talk really fast, sometimes they'll talk, you know, multiple aspects will individuate to have a conversation at the same time. And that's the noise that I'll hear. But like, I just have, you know, my mind is totally clear.
isn't
And
that
that is a
wonderful?
real blessing because I know so many people have a difficult time dropping into stillness. Now, don't get me wrong, I can still get bent out of shape and get all frustrated. And it's like, oh my God, you know, and the collective is kind of like, what are you doing? It's a human experience. Chill out. This is not real. What are you doing? You know, and I'm like, oh, yeah. So I do try to operate from that soul aspect and understand at all times that we are having a human experience. I don't mean to belittle that when I say this isn't real, because what they mean is everything here is a holographic projection. Everything is occurring in the mind, the source. But when we anchor in to this third dimensional reality matrix, then we are having a real experience within that matrix. But the matrix is also like a video game. When
Right.
you turn the video game off, it's over, and it's the same thing with us. And so it's really exciting the way that they have brought information through to me over the years, because I'll just be honest, I don't have the time to sit and read books, and I don't really read other people's stuff. I have had a couple books that I have read through and through, but they really weren't not necessarily about a walk-in or the subject matter that I talk about, because they want my knowing to stay my knowing. And I try
Mhm.
to always do that and try to always honor that. And instead of picking up something to read, I'll just, ask a question. And then sometimes the answer just comes in. Sometimes it comes in through light language, and then the interpretation comes in.
Fantastic. Well, okay, so I have so many questions. Okay.
Okay.
One of the questions is, your group that works with you, your team, are they like a solar system? Like in the Law of One, Ra was a seventh dimensional consciousness that was like a planet. I think that's what they said. It was like a planet. Do you have an experience to a knowing of what the consciousness is that you're tapping into?
We also were seventh density, but we were on the lower seventh density. Gaia herself is actually a seventh density
Oh,
consciousness, getting ready to move into an eighth density, where she could choose to move into the fifth density consciousness, or, and do that all over again, or she can actually move into a star. And so there is a progression level when you are disembodied. And that's the only way that I figured out, because my collective has always kind of laughed. They're like, densities and dimensions. They have given me information about that.
yeah.
And they say, but this is for human perspective, because the reality is we're all a vibrating wave of energy. And, as we fluctuate and we move up or we move out, we like to have names for that fluctuation. And so
Right.
so they said density, dimensions, holographic universe, harmonic universe. We can use any of those kind of terms. And that way we understand what we're talking about. So for me, all of the memories that I have was from disembodiment and operating as a single unit. And we even have the memories of when Gaia cried out, and we were, I guess, one of the, maybe the second, third wave. I don't know how it was that Dolores Cannon actually qualified those three waves of volunteers, but we definitely were called by Gaia to come. We were in the far reaches of the Andromedan system, and we were in observation. That's a story in and of itself, so I won't get into that. But we felt or heard this calling from Gaia to come and assist. And when we came, we actually then melded our consciousness with other like minds that were working on the crystalline grid structure. And the reason for the crystalline grid structure, now this was back, I guess, probably in the early 80s. And so what happened was there had been a piezoelectric field force that had been coming in towards the planet that no longer was there. And as a result, there was the opportunity to repair the crystalline structure that surrounds the planet. And so that's what we and countless others were doing. And that's what the collective is still doing. And in addition to that, radiating out like codes and frequencies of awaken, ascension, different healing codes, unconditional love. And so, we and others are doing that currently to assist with the denseness of this planet and to try to get through, because from my understanding, as we resonate our frequency out, we can't help but to be connected in with the collective consciousness, because it's a huge grid system anyway. So as we connect in with that collective consciousness goes all the way up, and it even goes outside of the planet where Gaia's consciousness is. Well, the grid system was holding the frequencies for Gaia, and now it holds the frequencies for humanity, because Gaia was originally a fifth density planet. And when the false matrixing came into be, it lowered the frequency. Now, there's a lot of good things that have come out of that, like duality, because duality now gives this planet an opportunity for souls to come and to experience the best of the best and the worst of the worst. And I know when we're in the bad stuff, it feels horrible. But the reality is our soul is growing through all of that. And so when we began working within the grid, we were repairing the grid structure. We were working on those fragmented aspects that had been imprinted. Now, that piezoelectric field is no longer operational. However, because it's been operational for so long and it held the frequency of Gaia, it also connects in with the crystalline ley lines that run through the earth. So humanity has been walking in that false matrixing energy. Well, when we walk in something long enough, it imprints on our cellular structure, which means it became part of our DNA over thousands and thousands of years. And so now, as people wake up, they're actually breaking through that false matrixing programming. That's how they're able to see everything that's going on around them. That's how they're able to connect outside of themselves and pull that information in. And so it's really exciting for me to be able to see the results of the work that so many thousands of beings are conducting.
Well, I'm so excited because you can tell every day that more frequencies are coming through, and more people's empathy and empathic superpowers in their third eyes are opening, so that it's almost you can feel the energy. But I do have a question for you, because it feels like we're at a big turning point this first quarter of this year. And I'm highly sensitive. I work with the Arcturians too, and who knows all. It seems like my team keep changing as I've grown up, or as I've aged. I guess not grown up. I haven't grown up.
We'll never grow up.
No, thank you. So anyway, but what are you getting the sense of that is happening right now? It's not just that people are waking up and they're choosing. There seems to be, with this change, I tap into the global consciousness, and sometimes you'll feel this like chaotic, almost frantic energy in the field that I definitely have to ground it into the earth, use crystals a lot to do that. Could you talk to that? Because I think that it would help so many people to understand how this change is coming about and to not be frightened of it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there is a lot that's happening right now. Okay. So, one of the things is the grid, as I mentioned, around the planet is being repaired. Now, when this grid is being repaired, that means that the planet itself can hold more and more light codes and more frequency. The important thing about that is we are connected to the planet. Our electromagnetic system is in tandem with the planet. We connect in with that Schumann resonance. So when the Earth experiences a spike in energy, when the Earth experiences like the solar flares, when the Earth experiences a massive flush of energy across the planet with all these photonic waves that are coming in, humanity experiences it also. A lot of people are waking up without the understanding of what's going on to them. Now, the scary thing about that is all of a sudden they look around and they get fearful. Well, why are they fearful? Why are they not dropping into joy? Because they're seeing all the darkness. And for the first time in their life, they may be saying, you know what? No one has the right to tell me what to put in my body. You know what? Nobody has the right to tell me how to vote. You know what? Nobody has the right to tell me whatever it is that's they're being told to do. And they don't understand why it's not right. And they also, as they look around, all they can see is the darkness. And when all they can see is the darkness, that's a scary place. They don't understand the reason that they can see the darkness is because now they're shining a light themselves. The other thing that's happening is as more people have been raising their consciousness, the light quota on this planet has been shifting and changing. So as I'm doing astral traveling or whatever it is that I'm doing, if I'm looking down on this planet, there are just pods all over this planet that are lighting up. It almost looks like a flower of life sometimes with all the people that are lighting up. And it is a beautiful thing to see. And when this light quota gets to a certain mass, it's also helping to feed Gaia. Gaia herself is going to make a shift. When Gaia makes her shift, then humanity will make that shift with Gaia. But not everyone is ready to make and to move into a fifth density, or actually a fourth density with fifth dimensional consciousness. They're not able to move in to that type of a structure. And so they will either continue on this 3D path here, or they will continue on another 3D path. But the beautiful thing is, everyone will be affected. Everyone will shift. No one is ever left behind. And I always tell people it's not a race. Okay. We are eternal souls. We are in this evolutionary process. And so, like for me, I'll go back to my collective. For others, they may choose to go on and have another dimensional experience somewhere else, or they may choose to continue their existence with Gaia. But these things are being felt now. People are like, oh, I can't wait for the ascension to happen. Well, guess what? We've been ascending since the dawn of man. All right. Ascension is about our consciousness. What we're doing now is ascending. We're bringing in all of those higher aspects of ourselves. Not only do we have the soul, which anchors into the body, we have the spiritual bodies, which are outside, which they have told me there's actually 12 with 4 matrix fields. We have all of that going on, which then connects into the higher self stream, which then goes up and connects in to our Shantias Khan, which then is part of our oversoul, which then is part of a soul family, part of a soul group. It goes up into the master oversoul. And then we just continue our evolutionary process. And so that's kind of what's happening right now. And people just are not, they're not all understanding it. And that's why I wrote this book, and I invited Barbara Lamb to join me, because we have a whole section on walk-ins, one on starseeds and one on hybrids. And Barbara has contributed case studies from people that she has hypnotized that are actually experiencing being a walk-in, a starseed, or hybrid. And so it comes from a different perspective. In the first book that I wrote, it was my story and the story of 15 other walk-ins. And then I had 8 other individuals who were providing scientific and conscious exploration viewpoints about walk-ins. And this time it was expanded out because so many walk-ins are starseeds. So
Right.
many walk-ins come in to hybridized bodies. And a lot of people are in a hybridized body and they just don't realize it. Or they're a hybrid mother and they don't realize it until something happens, something goes off, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm having this experience. I don't know what's happening.
Wow. Well, I have Mary Rodwell's book right here, and she wrote the foreword, and her work is remarkable as well. And so you having Mary Rodwell do the foreword, and then Barbara Lamb do her brilliant work, really gives a lot of credibility to this. And what I'm excited about, and my copy hasn't come yet. But what I'm excited about to read it is getting some more idea of structure of how this game, I guess, is put together. So when you're talking about star seeds and hybrids, could you please, for the audience that may not know this terminology, could you at least give an overview of what each one of them are? You can start whichever one you prefer. But I mean, I think that's why you need so many different teachers here and different spiritual leaders here, because there's so many different types of beings here that's not just one spokesperson for all of Earth, because we're all the living library of the universe. I mean, we're all a combination of a recipe.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I mean, think about it, folks. We're eternal beings. You have done and lived everything from the droplet of water to the steam that comes out of a volcano to being an Arcturian, a Pleiadian, Andromedan, a Mantis, a Lyran, a Sirian, whatever it is. And from whatever universe that you come from, you've experienced those things as well. And you bring that richness into your individual oversoul. So when you incarnate, it's like this swirl of energy that comes down, and you don't know exactly what you're going to get. So in the case of a walk-in, the walk-in hybrids and star seeds are what I would all call soul experiences. Even coming in as an angelic being is a soul experience. Okay. We're all having soul experiences, but a walk-in, the main definition is when one soul exits the body and another soul enters the body. Okay. And so the soul that comes in at birth is called your natal soul, and that natal soul will leave and a new soul will enter in, or the natal soul remains and it is augmented by a lot of other walk-in type experiences. Now, a star seed is someone who wakes up and they are directly from another planet or another star system, and they identify with that star system. They may say, gosh, I don't know why it is, but I always have to go out and look at the Pleiadian system at night. It really speaks to me. Or, I can't stand for a day to go by without going out and looking up, trying to find Arcturus. There's a reason for that. And a lot of star seeds will have the feeling that they don't belong in their families. I was working with a client the other day, and they said at the age of 5, they went to their parents and said, please, you can speak freely with me. Tell me, I know I was adopted. And they're like, no, you were a planned child. And he said his entire life he grew up feeling like he didn't belong in that family. Many people here feel like they don't belong, and the reason for that is they don't. They're from another planet. Now, the key is to integrate the fullness of that so that we can have the humanoid experience. Okay. And then with a hybrid, hybrids are human DNA that has been injected with extraterrestrial DNA. I call extraterrestrials our galactic family. So you have galactic family DNA and you have the human DNA, and they come together in a variety of ways, whether it was from they take the sperm of a father, the egg of a mother, put it together, then interject the other matter, the contributed matter from our galactic family, and then the fetus grows and they implant it into the mother. Or maybe there's a mother and a father that already have a pregnancy en route. They bring the mother to the ship and they directly interject the DNA in through the body. Or there is direct galactic family and earthlings that come together, and then they create the infant that way. And so then hybrids are either born on the ships or they're born here. If a fetus is implanted into the mother and the mother gives birth here, that hybrid child will be born and raised on this planet. However, if that baby has been either extracted, and a lot of times women will have what they feel are false pregnancies, but you have to remember we have multiple bodies. And so you could actually have been pregnant in the etheric body and the infant was removed. Anyway, however that happened, it goes back onto the ship, and there are tubes of liquid fluid, very similar to what we would think of as amniotic fluid here on the planet. And these tubes are filled, the infant is placed in there until it is ready to be born, in which time they basically just take the infant out and the infant's born. On the ship, however, the progression can be much, much quicker than it is here on Earth. And so those are basically the walk-in, starseed, and hybrid definitions that I give to people.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. So I wanted to ask about time, because in a human body, in this reality, we definitely have time, but our consciousness is out of time and space. Could you talk a little bit about what you know about time? Because as I said, I feel like and I don't always get this, but I feel, and I'm very connected somewhere. I don't have names for everything that happens with me, but that something's happening this quarter, that it feels like there's huge change, which will cause confusion happening this quarter. And that's why that's a time segment. I know that there's a longer time segment, which I'm very sure there's a positive ending, at least in the reality, the reality that I choose. Again, these words.
Right. Well, you have to realize that we live in what I would call the field of possibilities. All right. And so anything is possible. Why? Because we are carrying that divine, individuated source unit consciousness within us that carries that co-creative power. Okay. And so we can create anything. We really can, the good and the bad. So I'm always telling people, watch where you put your attention, because those things you fear, you really call to yourself, because you're putting all of your attention on, oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen. This is horrible. But, even like in times of war and those kinds of things, when people talk about that constantly, or this is horrible, they're actually still contributing energy to it. Yeah. And so, we always have to be careful, because if you look at a timeline as being weightless, but then we end up having these thoughts, these choices that attach to a timeline, then they begin to be weighted. And when you have enough people that are attaching to a particular timeline, that then can become the destiny for that timeline. Now, we have individual timelines, and we have collective timelines. We have universal timelines. It just goes out and out and out as to the timelines that we are involved in. But right now on this planet, the way I see it is we have these two timelines that used to be one that, if you will, have opened up, and people are choosing which timeline that they want to be on, and their energy is attaching to that timeline. So when that timeline actually splits, they will go with that timeline. Now, most of the people that I know are attaching their energy to what we would call a higher timeline for humanity. We're not dropping into the fear, shame, blame, guilt, all of those lower, what we would call lower density emotions that are here on the planet. We're more involved in, creating something over here. Right. So I know so many people, when I would be interviewed, they say, and so what do you think about the elections? I said, I don't think anything about the elections. I don't even think about the elections, because my energy is over here. I'm creating a whole new world, and they don't involve elections. So that's where I choose to put my energy. Now, right. It doesn't mean that I have my head in the sand. It just means I'm not giving it any energy.
Right. So, well, your collection is a combination of all these different galactic beings, which shows
Yes.
us the Star Trek future of
Yes.
how you're actually representing what we all are hoping for by your system that's coming through you, doing all these amazing things here on planet Earth. In the meantime, you're representing what our future is going to be, because there's no competition between
Right.
all the beings that work with you. And I want to read this again. So you have your soul blends Angelic, Pleiadian, Arcturian, Sirian-Lyran, Mantis, and Andromedan among, and well, I guess, and that's most of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are others, but those are the primary lives that I work through because sometimes I need the technical um, knowledge of the Arcturians. Sometimes I need
Yes.
some of the Palladian knowledge because they also have scientific stuff that, and that's kind of more the stuff I pull from with them as well as some of the spirituality. But then I anchor it all into the Andromedan. The Mantis brings in a lot of the healing energy. The Sirian and the Lyran, the Sirian-Lyran energy brings in that wisdom of the universe. And, the angelic energy is really the realm that I started in. But once I decided to take on embodiment, the first embodiment that I had was in the Andromedan system. But my first divisional frequency from the fullness of source, when I individuated, my consciousness unit was in the angelic realm. And I find that with many people when I'm working on them, it'll be like, yeah, this is, you're getting that information from here, there, or whatever. And your guides from X, Y, and Z really want you to be working with them. And so, for me, maybe I have a little cheat ticket because I got all this information, whereas other people are having to work for it. But Kathy, we all are a combination from
Right.
the beginning of our individuation. Everyone has a multitude of galactic knowledge running through them. All they have to do is turn inward and access it.
That's beautiful. Okay, so we do have a comment from my buddy Felice DiMartino. What about people who feel their galactic origins in a specific way, yet don't name it specifically as Pleiadian, Arcturian, Sirian,
And
etc.?
that's okay. That's just a name. Even in those star systems, most of them, and if you talk to people like from Arcturus, it's like, no, we're a realm. We are a realm. And it doesn't matter. The planets are just locations within the realm because they all have different vibrational frequencies.
That's
And
right.
so, everything is a vibrational frequency. So, my friend, you are right on it. You do not have to name it. You are correct.
And the thing is that when we talk about the Pleiades or Arcturus or Orion, they're stars. So these aren't the planet life forms unless you're part
Rays.
of a star. If your being is as old as most of the early wave, the volunteers that came here
Mhm.
are old creator beings. They may have even started the life form process
Yes.
here on
Yeah.
Earth, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are architects of the universe, there are the dream weavers, there are so many different advanced beings that are out there. And our planet is an old planet. I mean, relatively speaking, it's kind of new to where we are in the advancement of our civilization, but you also have to realize we're not the first civilization to be here.
Right.
So when we talk about, our planet is X number of years old, and it's had X number of civilizations, major civilizations on it. The Hopis say we are living in the fourth world, getting ready to transcend into the fifth. Well, they've been saying that for hundreds of years. They didn't read anything about 5D.
I know.
They got it directly from the stars. That's why it's called star seeds.
Yes, that's so perfect. So when you're looking at the changes that we're going through right now, is there a concept that you could share that would give people an idea of their best way to participate in the elevation and the clearing of old programs so that they could be in the new earth?
So the first thing is you fully have to drop into who you are on a soul level. That is the number one thing that really has to take place, because unless you do, part of your energy is operating out here. Once you are dropped in to the fullness of your being, you've got to connect into the earth. You really do, because these bodies are from the earth. We have to be connected into that Aximundi system so that we can then expand out into the cosmos. We also have to be connected into the earth grid system, which means the ley lines and the crystalline grid, because that's where we're getting all of our information from. We need to be connected in and aware of our own bodies. We need to know what's happening within the chakra fields, within our meridians. And the meridians are important because they then connect out to the meridian system of the galaxy, and we can pull in information that way. Then that feeds into our light body, which feeds into the crystalline grid system, because we have a crystalline grid system within us that connects out to the crystalline grid system within our body, which connects out into the crystalline grid system of the universe. And so, really just being aware of who we are, being grounded, being open to receive. We have to be an empty vessel at all times. If we think we know everything, you can't fill a cup that's already full. You always have to be in that state of openness, and you have to be, I say, strong enough to receive this information that comes in. You have to be strong enough to surrender. And
Right. Oh,
that's one of my other teachings is you have to be strong to surrender, to allow things to flow through you, to come out, to be cleared. And so we all have the ability to do all of this work for ourselves. We just have to have the awareness.
right. And that heart space of
Mm.
knowing that there's a bigger picture, it totally changes everything.
Oh
Okay, I
yeah.
want to also mention that I was fortunate enough to spend a little bit of time with Barbara Lamb. She spoke
Mhm.
at Boulder Exo, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years
Mhm.
ago. And then we all went out to dinner afterwards, and she is just amazing. And one of the things that she talked about, which is very fascinating to me, was how she was in sort of a discussion with another researcher doing very similar work and very similar work to Mary Rodwell, that was only getting people that had had negative experiences with mantises and other
Mhm.
alien beings, and she's only had positive.
Yeah.
Could you speak to that a little bit too? Because I really think that we are just at the cusp of disclosure right now. And I really think I'm so glad that you did this work with Barbara Lamb, because what a
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah. She is.
representative.
Yeah. She's great. She's great. Um, I only have contact with positive beings. And now that doesn't mean that they're not out there. And it doesn't mean that people are drawing them. But I will tell you 100% of everything we experience in this life is in our soul plan. So, on some level, people's soul have agreed to have these experiences.
Mhm.
Now, when I told that to one lady, she was furious. She goes, I did not agree to be abducted. I would never have agreed to have my eggs harvested. I would not agree. Da, da, da. Well, as we did a little bit more work, come to find out, her originating source was with the beings that had abducted her. And there was an agreement. And she did agree as a human to go through the experience in its fullness. So when you are dealing with different races, they're all looking for something different. Okay. It could be the genetic material. It could be the vibration of love. It could be the vibration of fear, because they're constantly studying. And it's hard to second guess someone's experience. Everything everybody believes me, I believe, because I'm telling you, if you'd have told me I would be a walk-in, I would have laughed you out of the room. So there is nothing that I don't believe in. Somebody says I had a leprechaun jumping on my bed, and I'm like, that is so cool. How tall were they? I don't discount anything. And I do not discount the fact that people do have what we would consider to be negative experiences. However, if we can pull closure with the fear that we're experiencing in that moment and turn it into love, they will have a totally different experience, because the universe reflects back to us those things that we send out. And that is the same with a lot of the galactic beings.
Thank you. Yeah, that is exactly. We are such powerful creators. We
Yes.
get to create the interpretation and the outcome of a lot of the things that are happening. So one more question about disclosure. Do you feel, I mean, there's so many people coming forward now. We're not waiting for the government
Right.
to tell us that they're here. I mean, I know at 8 years old, I went out in the backyard and said, come and get me. You left me at the wrong house.
Yeah.
So I know,
You little starseed, you.
I don't know what I am. But anyway, I know that I've known all along that there was a much bigger process going on, and that the game was how much love can you hold? How much, yeah, really. So what do you think about disclosure coming out?
Well, I mean, it is coming out, but we have to also realize that it's happening quicker than what I think that some of the systems would like to
Oh,
happen.
oh,
And
okay.
the reason for that is when let's say if they start talking about extraterrestrial disclosure, that is just the tip of the iceberg as to the other things that they have to start disclosing, like the use of med beds, free energy. There's so much out there that's been hidden from the population. And it's not that the population can't handle the information, and the government's like, oh, we have to be really careful because people might freak out and the religious systems are going to fall. No, I think people are going to be genuinely pissed, because they're going to find out that their grandmother did not have to go through all of that pain. There was a med bed that they could have laid in, and they could have had their body rejuvenated just like that. And so I think that a lot of people's response is not going to be fear. I think some of it's going to be anger, and they're trying to figure out ways to handle that, because what will come next will be the technology. And I think it was, I'm not sure. I think they said it was Bashar, was talking about that there could be, what happens is the history of the universe is shown as a holographic form in the sky. And now all of a sudden, people are going to understand their roots, their true roots. They're going to understand religion in its fullest. They're going to understand the system that we operate under, and they're going to understand how bureaucracy has really reigned even through various religious systems. And I think what we're going to have is more people are going to have a collapse in the belief of what's been governing us, as opposed to fear of what might be coming in.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people ask about the drones. Yes, there are drones that are coming in from outside of our space. However, a majority of those are also coming from within the earth. And if you can set up a scenario with people that start to fear their own nation, their own family, if you can set up a system of division so that when our family does come and say, hey, you're part of us, we're part of you, we've been here supporting you all along, we've always been here, we talk to you in dream time, we've been leading you, we've been guiding you. If everyone drops into love and they expand into their true co-creative possibilities, there is no more need for the power structures that we
Right.
have in place. So I think it's more of a fear of the power structures collapsing and less a fear that people can't handle the truth, because
Right.
people can definitely handle the truth.
I think that people in general, well, humans in general are afraid of change. And
Mm.
what we're talking about is so many different ways to look at reality, that they may have seen a little bit of Bashar or read some of Seth, or did some of Abraham's work, and
Right.
they may have seen a little bit of it, or they've read books. Again, Boulder Exo is what I was part of it until the end of December. But anyway, the idea is that this information is going to come out everywhere, and that there has been hints to it in books. Like, I don't know if you know about the Transylvania Sunrise books.
Mm-mm.
Well, you said you don't read much, but these were books about Romania,
Mm-hmm.
where they found underground caverns that actually go to Egypt, go to the inner earth, and go to Iraq, that were alien. And there was a holographic message of the universe inside it. And that
Mm.
was in the 90s. That was when Romania was actually put into NATO. It was still in the Iron Curtain, and somehow they got in NATO. Um, so yeah, there's been so many discoveries that
Yeah.
once those books are out there right now that you can read in English, they've been translated, and it's phenomenal. It's not science fiction; it's real. And
Right.
that's the exciting part, is what our future holds is. And again, I'm going to go back to Star Trek because that's my era, but
Yeah.
where we all benefit from each other's
Yes.
differences rather than be afraid of them.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And, even my dad embraces the concept. My dad is 90, and he was really entrenched in a religious system. And what it did for him was expanded his understanding of God. It didn't collapse it, it expanded it.
Right.
And so if at 90 he can embrace this change with excitement of what the future holds, I really think that everyone else will. I mean, I really do. There's going to be people drop into fear. That's just the way it is. But there's going to be so many people who are awake that are going to be there to help support and lift people up. I'm really excited for the future. And, we've got some really big things coming up. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that's why I hope that people will get your book, Cosmic Convergence, and really get an idea of the infrastructure that we're in,
Mhm.
and maybe be awakened to their divine essence in a whole different way, and be able to enjoy this
Yeah.
experience 100% rather than a little.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, because the entire book is about not just the multidimensionality of a person, but it's the collection of information about the multidimensionality of the universe and how we reflect that within our own holographic field. So, I would love for people to get the book. I think it's a great resource. It's wonderful that I was able to work with Barbara. I just love Barbara, and she helped me with a few regressions that really gave me some clarity. And the amazing thing is, she is still providing regressions to people. So if you haven't had a Barbara Lamb regression, get a hold of her. And her information's in the book. So There you go. You can buy the book to get a hold of Barbara to have a session with her.
Oh,
And
that's great.
yeah, and so there's so many exciting things that's going on out there. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share it with your audience.
Oh, I love this. And I know that this is an opportunity to really enjoy life, to have a much
Mhm.
more full and purposeful experience here. And that's what we all came here for. So thank you so much, Sheila. And thank you so much for putting some infrastructure into this reality that we there's so much confusing information out there, and every other person has a counsel, or that and so what you've done, and you have all the content to back it up, is really going to help stabilize the whole knowing of humanity on our path to this new earth.
Yeah, it can
So
be a great resource for people.
yeah, that's what I know. It's going to be very successful. It'll be a classic, really. By the time our kids grow up, they'll be going, "Did you read Cosmic Convergence?" Anyway,
It was way back in 2024. Can you believe
it was
that
like
book?
20 years ago. So anyway, so Sheila, let's make sure that everyone knows how to get a hold of you and how they can get the book,
Sure.
please.
Yes. So you can get the book on Amazon, and all you have to do is you can type in my name, Sheila Seppi. You can also go to my website, SheilaSeppi.com, and find it there. And it's getting ready to be in the store on the ConsciousAwakeningNetwork.org, so you can find it there.
Mhm.
But just go to Amazon and you'll be able to find it. And it's in all major bookstores. And it is going to be, the contract was picked up to have it turned into an audiobook, so I'm excited about that. I was notified, I guess, about a month and a half ago by my publisher that that was happening. So I was
Great.
so thrilled. Yeah. And so, please check that out. If you're interested in a session, I work on the holographic grid with people. I can help activate your light language, give you some clarity on who, your soul group may be, or who your originating family of origin is. A lot of times they will give me your name even. They're all vibrational frequencies, but they come out, for us as names.
Right. Oh, that's so perfect and so useful. So again, SheilaSeppi.com is one of the places you can find Sheila, and ConsciousAwakeningNetwork.org, which we'll have to do another one of these about that. But thank you so much, and bless you with the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please, everyone, share this, like it, subscribe, share. Make sure that everyone has this resource. You'll be so glad you did.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Thank
Sheila.
you. Thanks.